Some stories are darker than nightmares. This is the story of Yang Xinhai, a man who became known as the monster killer in China. What drove this quiet, sharp-minded boy to commit some of the most brutal crimes the world has ever seen? Stay tuned to find out. Yang Xinhai was born in 1968 in Zhengyang County, China. From a young age, he was known as an introvert and a sharp-minded boy. But he was also different. He kept to himself, rarely spoke, and seemed to live in his own world. One day, his parents found a book in his room, and what they discovered inside shocked them. In this book, Yang had written about an imaginary world where he was the main character, a criminal who committed countless crimes and always managed to escape the police. It seemed like a harmless fantasy, but it was the first sign of the darkness growing inside him. At 17, Yang stopped going to school. He said the voices of his classmates irritated him. Soon after, he ran away from home, leaving his family and his village behind. Yang's life took a dark turn. He wandered from place to place, committing small crimes, petty thefts that landed him in jail multiple times. But there was something else, a darker accusation. Yang was charged with sexual harassment, a crime that made people in his community fear and distrust him even more. Despite his troubled past, Yang found love. He started a relationship with a young woman, and for a moment, it seemed like things might get better. But when she learned about his criminal record, especially the sexual harassment case, she refused to marry him. This rejection hit Yang hard. He felt betrayed and angry. In his mind, society had turned against him. Heartbroken and filled with rage, Yang Xinhai became a monster. Before becoming a serial killer, Yang had several brushes with the law. He was arrested twice for theft and served time in labor camps, which appeared to have hardened his violent tendencies. After his release, he began drifting across China, harboring a growing hatred for society. Between 1999 and 2003, he began killing at random. He targeted families and couples in quiet, rural areas, breaking into their homes at night. He used weapons like hammers, axes, and shovels, and he showed no mercy. But it wasn't just murder. Yang would often rape women and even young girls before killing them. His crimes were brutal, senseless, and random. He wasn't after money or revenge against specific people. He just wanted to kill. Yang often chose homes that appeared to be easy targets, typically those in isolated, rural areas with limited access to law enforcement or neighbors who might hear any commotion. According to interviews and assessments, Yang claimed he felt a sense of excitement and release when committing the murders. He showed no remorse for his actions, stating that he believed killing was a way to vent his hatred against society. Yang was methodical and careful. He would wear new clothes for each crime and change his appearance frequently. After each attack, he would discard his clothing and any items that could connect him to the scene. This cautious approach helped him avoid detection for years, despite the scale and frequency of his crimes. But in November 2003, Yang's killing spree came to an end in the most unexpected way. He was at an entertainment venue when the police showed up for a routine check. Yang began acting strangely, catching their attention. Suspicious. The police took him in for questioning. As they dug deeper, Yang cracked. He confessed to everything. 67 murders, countless rapes, all committed over just a few years. He said his rampage started after his girlfriend refused to marry him, and he blamed society for his heartbreak. Yang confessed in detail to his crimes, showing no remorse. His confession was consistent with evidence found at the crime scenes, such as fingerprints, footprints, and the types of weapons used. His detailed admissions confirmed his role in a vast number of unsolved cases. Yang spoke about his crimes as if he was talking about someone else's life. No guilt, no remorse, just a chilling calmness. He described each murder in detail, showing no sign of regret. After his arrest, Yang Xinhai's confession shocked the entire country. People couldn't believe the horrors he described so casually. The details of how he picked his victims at random, his calm recounting of brutal murders, and his complete lack of remorse. It was clear that this was no ordinary trial. Yang was facing charges for some of the most horrific crimes China had ever seen. Yang's trial began in early 2004. He was charged with 67 murders and 23 rapes. The evidence against him was overwhelming. His confession alone was enough to convict him. Yang showed no signs of guilt or regret. When asked if he had anything to say in his defense, he simply shrugged and replied, "I have nothing to say. I did it." He did not ask for forgiveness. He did not try to explain or justify his actions. He accepted his fate. The judge had little choice, given the scale of his crimes. Yang was sentenced to death, but even as he heard his sentence, Yang remained calm, almost indifferent. The judge described his crimes as despicable and beyond human understanding. After the trial, Yang was taken to a high-security prison in Henan province to await his execution. He remained there for several months, but even in prison, his demeanor did not change. Yang's execution was carried out on February 14, 2004, in a remote location. In China, executions are typically done by firing squad or lethal injection. In Yang's case, he was executed by firing squad. He was brought to a secluded area outside the city early in the morning. The execution was swift. He was given a final opportunity to say something, but he declined, staying silent until the very end. At 9:00 a.m., Yang Xinhai was shot by a single bullet to the back of the head. The execution was quick, and his body was immediately taken away. In that moment, one of China's most notorious killers was gone. The news of his execution spread quickly, and for many, it brought a sense of relief. But for others, especially the families of his victims, it was a reminder of the deep wounds that would never fully heal. In the aftermath, people began to question how someone like Yang could exist. Experts debated whether his crimes were the result of a broken mind, a cruel childhood, or something far darker. Yang Xinhai had left a trail of devastation that would never be forgotten. His case forced China to take a harder look at its criminal justice system, its approach to mental health, and how society deals with people who fall through the cracks. Yang Xinhai's case remains one of the most horrifying in modern Chinese criminal history, with his actions still evoking fear and outrage. His story has been the subject of numerous documentaries, true crime shows, and discussions about criminal psychology and law enforcement in China. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of the unexplained and the macabre. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that are true. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.